welcome Mr. Ray Madaghiele.
Gifts, let's not lose our gifts.
Oh, never, never.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, how many of you were at the celebration yesterday afternoon? Woo! We partake. Yes, we did. So Joel loved it. So it was great to see his face. His energy stayed up through the whole thing, so he had a lot to say. Each of those segments were supposed to be 3 minutes, you know. But it was perfect. All of it was perfect. How many of you volunteered for it in some way, shape, or form? Could I have you please stand? We want to acknowledge all of you. Incredible stuff. Today's lesson is all about, it's about realization. So it's time to realize. Why don't we put up the affirmation? So I'll read it and then we'll read it together. It's time to realize my connection to spirit and achieve my heart's desire. Together? It's time to realize my connection to spirit and achieve my heart's desire. And so realization is a great word. I looked up the word realization. I have it. And first of all, I want to make sure everyone has a copy of the poem. You should have had it in your program. If you don't, raise your hand. I want to make sure you have it. So we've got some people, ushers, if we could keep your hands up, and the ushers will make sure you get it, because we're going to use this later on. So when I wrote the It's Time poem, it's got realize in it twice, and I said, well, that's good. What exactly is realize? And here's what realize means. To understand, to comprehend, to become conscious, to appreciate, to grasp, to recognize, to take in, to make real, fulfill, achieve, accomplish, carry out, bring to fruition, make happen, complete. That's where we're at. We're at the realization of a new birth, of the new era of this ministry. And you heard from Tony the incredible things that are in place already. So the transition team is going to be looking at all your information, and you get to decide, you get to create exactly what this place is going to mean. You're going to create it into the very spiritual home that you want. You're going to be able to have the realization of what you have in your mind and heart as you come together as a collective family. And so, exciting time. And it's great to be here to give the lesson for this exciting time. I want to share with you, it's been a great honor for Lynn and I to be a part of this transition. So we were involved in it, if you haven't been here, ever since Joel, and if you're newcomers, Joel was the minister who retired yesterday. And it was February 5th. That was his last service that he provided, other than coming back a couple weeks ago. And it was at that time we created the commitment program. Just knew it was time to do that. And the commitment program is based on the book that I wrote called Ray of Hope for Peace. And that commitment program was actually the catalyst for creating a new 10-year edition of that book called Ray of Hope Inspiring Peace. And I'll have you know, it is now launched as an ebook. And so this is the soft launch today. So thank you for being the catalyst of that. This was the realization of a divine idea that it was time to bring in all sorts of new information about what's happening in the world that is creating peace and transformation and helping to evolve the world into a new place. So we're going to work with the It's Time poem today a little later in the program. So, I want to talk a little bit about some words that Joel used yesterday. So, I was hoping that Joel would have enough energy to be able to share the words that he shared. And so I asked him just ahead of the program whether he would be willing for us to have a conversation back and forth. And he said yes. And so that's why you got to hear as much of Joel as you got to. And what I loved was when we got to the 2000s, we kind of did it decade by decade. So those of you that don't know Joel, that are newcomers, he has been in ministry for over 50 years, and in this particular church for over 37 years. And so we went decade by decade, and then we got to the 2000s, where we saw a lot of transformation in Joel over this decade, this new millennium. And he was rebirthing himself in many ways. And he was doing his own intensives. He went to Landmark Forum, which is a very intensive weekend, and he went through other programs that had him look at his beliefs and releasing beliefs that no longer work for him. And he did all of that process starting in the 2000s. And then he started to get more into Buddhism. He had dabbled in it before, but it actually, you can almost feel that welling up from inside him, the Buddhist part of Joel. So what do you think, Nico? Nico's a Buddhist, eh? And so it was just great to watch Joel go through these transformations. He showed us how to do it. And so yesterday, when we discussed the 2000s, I asked him, tell me about, what are you morphing into? What is your religion now? And here's what he said. He said, it would be great if we didn't dabble so much in unity with the metaphysical symbology and all that stuff, but instead, what if we could just be more loving, compassionate, and kind? That's simple. What if each of us could take that into the world, not just listen to it in church, but have it be how we step into the world?
That's the Dalai Lama's religion.
That's a good religion. Yeah. Yeah, and Buddha. So Buddha, his very message was about being kind and compassionate. Sai Baba said that the only religion is the religion of love. Jesus, his whole message was around love and forgiveness. What if that is the religion to step forward with in the new era? What if it can be such a simple message that we all get it in a way, that we can live it in our behaviors as we go into the world? What kind of world would that be? Just before the commitment program was birthed, that we did back in February and March, there was a vision that I got, and I always have some sort of intention that seems to show up right at the beginning of the year for what the year is to be about. In this year, the word that came to me was going global. Going global. And that's been my intention and our intention. So Lynn's been studying a lot about the internet over the past couple years and how to use that, and how to attract people that resonate with a message. And so this year, we've been really dabbling in how to set a structure to go global. You remember the Oscars? Remember the Oscars? You remember Angelina Jolie's leg sticking out of her gown? That thing went viral over the internet. There was like 19 million hits on Angelina Jolie's leg. I said, if her leg can get it, there's got to be a way that you can get a ray of hope message to go viral in the world.
I'm not putting my leg out
Come on,
there.
honey. Come on. Honey, you gotta play. You gotta play with it.
You gotta wear shorts, right?
Yeah, they're pretty good legs. At least I think I do. So let me share. And because we're ready to go global. In the commitment program, we told you that, we're experimenting with blogging, and so we set up a blog, and actually got it, so it was working quite well. And we got the people that were trying to sell their insurance on our stuff. Someone was trying to sell Viagra. We got them blocked, so they're no longer coming into our blog. If you've never blogged, don't worry about it. You just have to protect your information. And so we kind of got it down now, and so we're expanding now. And we want to share a message. And we were asking ourselves, what is the message that we would share? And we deliberated on it for several months. And then it became very clear. Because for those of you that are new, I bicycled across the country in 2002 in the aftermath of 9/11. Bicycled from Phoenix to Ground Zero, New York City. And as we rolled across the country, we also asked ourselves before that journey, what are we going to share with people? Because the journey was about sharing a message of hope and healing. And what happened was, after the 9/11 events, it was Saturday, September 15th. I woke at 2 o'clock in the morning. And these thoughts started coming through me. And that's the best way to speak it. It was like everything I had learned, everything that Joel had taught us as truth students, everything I had studied from other masters like Sai Baba, that I had studied from Jesus, that I had studied from Buddha, it all seemed to gel into what you have in front of you called the It's Time poem. And it just flowed out onto the page. And so what we did is we created a rack card. And the rack card is similar to what you have today. And that rack card, I just had words like knowledge, discovery, transformation, peace of mind, and talked about creating peace of mind in turbulent times. And then on the back was the It's Time poem. And what we did is we shared this with thousands of people as we rolled across the country. People we met in coffee shops, people that came to fire station chats that we held, and we invited the public to honor the public servants. We spoke in Rotary clubs. We shared it with the Rotary clubs. And so all across the nation, on subway trains, when we got to New York, we shared it with people as we were going to the year-end remembrance ceremonies. And it was interesting, the dialogue we had, just by the words of this poem. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the stanzas of this poem and relate it to what are the teachings of unity? What are the simple truths that we could go out and we could practice? And so join me as we go through the It's Time poem. So the first 3 stanzas say this: it's time that we understand our role as stewards of this planet, that we respect and honor the delicate balance of our world. It's time that we realize we're all one people, that separateness is an illusion, and in truth we're all connected. It's time that we see past the veil of illusion called separateness and understand just how connected we really are, that we're all made from the same substance of the universe, and by harming another, we're only harming ourselves. So these stanzas are about understanding our connection to each other, to the earth, to all that God created. We each are God's expression. Everything in this world is an expression of God. So as we eat a vegetable, that vegetable has taken minerals and water out of the soil. And we're all made of the same substance. If we're meat eaters, the animal that we ate maybe ate another animal that ate some grass that got the minerals and water out of the soil. We're all connected. The air we're breathing, every atom of air that's entering me, has been in you. So what if we could realize that connection? So in unity, we talk about there is one presence, there's one God, and that God is in everyone and everything. The next part of the poem. It's time when we see past the color of one's skin or the name of one's God, that we realize we're merely traveling parallel paths leading up the same mountain. This is what I really loved about unity when I found it in 1987. It's a respect for all religions, to pass no judgment on any religion. And this particular stanza of the poem created the most dialogue that we had as we rolled across the country. And so I want to share a story of someone we shared it with on the ride and how the conversation went. So this is right out of the ebook. You don't have an ebook, these things are great. Our whole library will eventually be on this. We won't have to carry any books. You see, we RV around the country. We don't have a lot of room for books, but I can have them all right here. So I'm going to share with you a little bit of someone that we connected with across the journey. His name was Mark. And so I had gotten lost, or Lynn got lost in the truck. I can't remember what. It was me. I got lost. Okay. So got lost in a place called Fredonia, and I believe that was in Missouri. And he just got separated. She would be in the truck, I'd be on the bicycle, and I don't know what happened. But here's what I know, the truth about that moment, honey. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't your fault. It's time that we see past the... Well, I'm not going to do that one yet. I'm going to do this one right here. There are no accidents in life. Every wrong turn is an opportunity for our transformation. And so the divine order that Barbara shared with us in the poem, there are no accidents. Everything's happening in perfect order. What's happening in the church is happening in perfect order. The natural evolution that we are now moving to. Now you are consciously evolving this place. So Steve, thank you for guiding the committee that's looking at the input. So Steve Swagger is a key player that's working with the committee to look at all your input of what you desire for a ministry so you can create it exactly the way you want it. Next evolution. So, when we got lost, here's the story. To celebrate our reunion, we stopped for lunch at a cafe in Fredonia, where we met Mark and his son Luke. We shared a few pleasantries, and I gave him a copy of my poem. Then he and his son left the restaurant. 5 minutes later, however, Mark returned. He said that he had just read the poem, and he wanted to share ideas, especially about the line that read, "It's time that we see past the color of one's skin or the name of one's God, that we realize we're merely traveling parallel paths leading up the same mountain." Mark was a man with a strong Christian faith in God. He shared his beliefs about Jesus as way shower, and I shared mine about all the great spiritual masters who have taught the same essential message of loving and serving one another. Amazingly, we both talked without judgment, only seeking to understand. His faith in Jesus and God were unshakable, yet he was willing to enter open dialogue in order to understand another person's point of view. Neither his nor my faith wavered. In fact, both our faiths strengthened that day. Mark and I both agreed that Jesus is a great way shower. Jesus taught us how to pray. He taught us not to judge others. He taught us how to love and serve one another. He was a master of demonstrating that we're not separate from God, that the Father and I are one. If we each follow the teachings of the life of Jesus, the world would be a more peaceful, joyous, and loving place in which to live. I was talking with Chris on the board. He was in here the first part of the service, or the first service. And last night we had a chance to talk. He had just finished reading my book, the 2004 Classic Edition. He just finished reading it, and I asked him, what did you like most about it? And he said, one thing I found was really interesting, that you chose to talk to so many people. He said, sometimes I struggle with starting a conversation with someone. And he said, what I saw was the amazing things you learned by striking up these conversations with people. This Time poem opened up incredible conversations. I had a similar conversation with someone on the subway when we were on 9/11 at the year-end remembrance ceremony. And it happened across the country continuously. What if we could have the courage to engage in conversations, especially when it comes to God? What if we could do it from a place of not defending a position or a certain way, but instead sharing essential principles that are kind of the common thread that all religions seek? And so that's what that whole stanza is about. The next, it's time we stop searching and tune into the calm peace of our souls. This is all about searching for happiness inside ourselves. That's what we teach in unity. So within us is the Christ presence that can guide our every step if we just dial in, tune in. And prayer and meditation is the vehicle to do that. It's time that if we see something in the world that needs to be changed, that we do as Gandhi suggested and be the change you wish to see. It's time we take responsibility for making the world a better place, that we strengthen the foundation of our communities by being of good character. It's time that we ask, how can I make a difference? That we leave this world in a little better shape than when we arrived. That's all about making a positive difference in the world. Using our talents, our treasures, our time in incredible ways that serve. And so now, what a wonderful opportunity This church is a fertile ground for birthing all sorts of new things. New programs, maybe a new lay minister program. I know Judy's working a lot with bringing some systems in to bring forth some new growth, new creation. Exciting time. And then lastly, it's time that we listen to each other with empathy and compassion, that we overcome the fear in our minds, which is ego, and that we experience the love in our hearts, which is the Christ presence. It's time that we get past ego and discover our innate spiritual essence, that we release our selfish desires and serve humankind unconditionally with love. It's time we love all, serve all, that we be at peace. It's time. And so at the beginning of the week, I said, I need a theme song. There needs to be a theme song for this Going Global, and that would accompany the It's Time poem. And so I asked the Gaias to create something special. And so they're going to present what they created.
We are so honored and so excited to be part of this time, to be part of a global movement, to spread our love, to be love for this church, for our community, for the state, for the nation, for the world. We get to be the change. It's time, huh? It's time? All right. Please affirm with us, okay? I am a ray of hope. 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 Brand new world starts here and now. You and me and one simple vow. Guided through our loving work. Let's take a stand for Mother Earth. She is the water, a ray of hope. We in the air, a ray of hope. Breathe, I am a ray of balance everywhere. I am a ray of hope. As we lift the veil away, gravity just slips away. Look another in the eye. The open back in spirit's light. One below, a ray of hope. One love, I am a ray of hope. One birth, I am a ray of hope. One more, I am a ray of hope. Time to join hands, every woman, child, and man. Time to take a stand. Time to be the change we wish to see. I am a ray of hope. I am a ray of hope. We live. I am a ray of hope. In peace and love. A ray of hope. Compassion. I am a ray of hope. I am a ray of hope. I am a ray of hope. Love. I am a ray of hope. Can you feel it? I am a ray of hope. Can you hear it? I am a ray of hope. If you live it, I am a ray of hope. When you speak it, I am a ray of hope. I am.
So what does it look like to be a ray of hope? thank you very much for creating that song. And so our intention is to have it available as a download on our website. We already have the poem up there. Lynn and I were the volunteer coordinators for the Unity Convention that finished up a couple weeks ago. And Barbara Mark Hubbard was one of the speakers, as well as Gene Houston. And they're both involved in a movement that I've shared in here before called Work 2012. A couple weeks ago was also the beginning of the Summer of Peace. And so the Summer of Peace, they're doing that as what's the energy of this particular quarter. And so when Barbara was speaking, doing the keynote, she invited Unity ministers to come up. And so if you don't know, the Unity People's Convention is when all the ministers come together from around the world to learn and share best practices. So Barbara was speaking, and she was speaking about Birth 2012, and she made a call to action to everyone in the room to come up and share how they could help the positive conscious evolution of our planet to the next level. And in essence, for all of us to be kind, compassionate, and loving with each other. And so about 25 Unity ministers came up. It was an open mic. And something pulled me to go up as well. And so it was up there that I spoke. What if, as a minister, you can make a call to action and ask everyone to be a ray of hope that week, every day, with everyone they meet, in some small way. And it was interesting, when we flew back from Detroit, we were sitting right behind a family. And so there was a young mother and her two very young kids. One was about 2 years old, the other was probably about 4 years old, and the dad was in the next aisle over. The kids were sitting together, and the plane flight was, what, about 4 hours? Anyone have kids? Taking a plane flight for 4 hours? You don't have them sit together. You never do that. And so anyway, they were good. They were just kids. And they stayed awake the whole time. And you know what kids do? They kick their feet, and so they're hitting the seat in front. Well, the seat in front, there was this big guy in a Harley t-shirt, and his bicycle mama was next to him, and he had enough. And this was about a half hour from coming into Phoenix. And he stood up, and he just glared at this young mother and at the kids. And I can't remember exactly the words he used, but they weren't exactly pleasant. And so he was angry, he was frustrated, she was embarrassed, she didn't know what to do, she was doing the very best she could. And so I observed all this, and I just made a conscious decision that I was just going to radiate love and peace. Just radiate my energy out. And then when we landed, and we heard the ding, she got up and she started to scramble to get all the kids taken care of. Took one kid, handed it to Dad, who had done nothing to this point in time. And then she's trying to manage. She had 2 car seats and she had bags for it, and she's trying to get things out of the overhead. She couldn't reach this bear that was way deep in the overhead, and so she murmured something to her husband, and so I could feel the tension in this whole situation. So I just decided, without a word, to go and pull the bear. I gave her the bear that was up in the overhead, and I lifted up the car seat, and so she could put the bag under it to get the car seat in, just to make her day maybe a little lighter, to shed a little hope for maybe humanity is good. That was simple as being a ray of hope can be. And so this is a call to action to you, to go out throughout this week and be conscious of what's happening. See if someone maybe is struggling to open a door because they're holding a baby or something else, and guide that. Yesterday we had the situation too. Lynn had gone to the grocery store. She had this heavy bottle of water that she was trying to get in the car, and I didn't notice what was happening, but someone else did outside. He was carrying a pizza, and he grabbed the water from her and just brought it to the car for her. That's what being a ray of hope is. And so my call to action to you is to be that throughout this week. And actually, why not do it throughout the summer? Test it out. Share copies of the It's Time poem with people. Have the courage to have a conversation. Not to convince, but to understand. If you've got one political affiliation, maybe you don't get into a debate with someone of another affiliation. Maybe you just have a conversation to understand. What if we all can be in simple ways this ray of hope? And so I invite you. We actually have some of the classic books for sale still, and we put them on sale at a special price today. And we've got audio books, and then also you can go to our website, which is Ray of Hope Inspiring Peace. It's on your rack card. And sign up to receive. We do Rays of Hope that are inspirational messages, and we're going up in the mountains. We've had it with the heat. It's time. Lucky, and we're going to find a burning bush up there because we have our official launch is this upcoming Wednesday, July 4th, which was 10 years ago, the first day of the bicycling trip across America to Ground Zero. And so we're going to do an official launch. Hopefully we can get the poem with the song on the website, and we've got to ponder exactly what it's going to look like. But let's close off the service with the affirmation, and let's say it together. It's time to realize my connection to spirit and achieve my heart's desire. Thank you, God.
Thank you.